What is up, guys? It's Purple Heart, and today we're doing another movie review. I know that's kind of what we've been doing recently, but there were gaps between them. I just forgot that I needed to edit them. So, all the Pokemon Uraniums were released, and then I realized I actually had to do movie reviews. So I am going to, I'm going to pop this in where it should be. But today we're doing our first classic versus remake fight. I don't realize that I intend to do loads. I just know that there are a couple which I intend to do. For example, the next one I have planned is a little bit spooky. But for now, we're gonna do Beauty and the Beast, the remake versus the classic. Classic coming out in 1990, and the remake coming out this year as 2017 if you're watching it in 2018 or further on. Or in the past. That's weird. Okay, Jarvis trying to be a dick. So, let's start off with the feelings. So, pretty much kind of the rules is I'm going to be comparing the two counterpoints from each, the classic and the remake, and whichever one it's from, I'll be referring to them as such. For example, the Belle from the 1990 film I'll refer to her as Classic Belle, and the Belle from the modern ones, the Emma Watson, I'll be referring to as Remake Belle, just so I don't have to refer to them by actors' names, because most of the characters I don't know. Literally, it's only Emma Watson that I know her name. So, on this page we're actually going to talk about the feel of the film, of the two films. So, Beauty and the Beast was very kind of explanational. It kind of tried to tell you the story, because that's what all the classics did. They tried to tell you the story and throw in some funny gags where they could, and they didn't want to overspill it. Whereas the remake kind of took the fact that most people before actually seeing it would have probably watched the classic, so people would know the story because they probably watched the classic. So they can actually take what they established in the classic and take it one step further, revealing things that were never revealed in the classics. And their overall feelings in each film are very different. They even contrast each other, because the first Beauty and the Beast felt very light and happy, whereas the more recent one felt very dark and dramatic. I mean, besides the fact that there's a lot of black everywhere, the supporting characters kind of gave up. Like, in the original, Miss Potts, Cogsworth, Lumia, and all the other supporting characters, they were still very confident that the spell would be broken. When Belle shows up, they're like, oh my god, one last chance. Let's get into this, let's do it. Because this could be our last shot. Whereas in the remake, they just gave up. They was like, I think it was Miss Potts that was said, before, when we should have done something, we didn't, and now it's our mistake, and it's our burden to bear, or something like that. She was very sinister about it. But now we talked about the feelings of the movies, let's actually compare the characters themselves. So, first up, it's the Beauty from Beauty and the Beast. It's Belle. So, the classic Belle, I felt, was very naive and argumentative. She wouldn't essentially pick a fight, but she was very aggressive to people and very abrasive. Like, both of them are very abrasive, but I felt the classic Belle was kind of... it felt like Gaston, even though he was an absolute arsehole, and he was trying way too much, Belle pushed him away more than she needed to. And I kind of got that vibe from her. Whereas the remake Belle, she was cut off, but that's because it was very obvious by the subtext of what she said that he'd wooed her many times, and she really had said no many times. But you never really got that from the classic. So the classic Belle was very angry and naive, I felt, whereas the remake Belle, you morely got the feeling that she actually wanted to explore the world. For example, the fact that Belle just runs to her father's field in the classic, and in the remake, Belle literally leaves the village. So, considering the fact that the remake belt is more relatable, the winner of the remake versus classics belt is the remake. Next up, it's the Beast slash Adam. Most people don't know his name is Adam, but I found out it's Adam, which is kind of weird. This one's going to be really quick. I didn't like the Beast in the original, or the classic. And it's not like, oh, it was a childhood scare. I just didn't like him even when I was rewatching it. I was never scared of him as a child. I just hated how, like, I get that Disney were trying to make you feel uncomfortable, but his lines just felt so forced, like he was trying to be aggressive. Whereas the remake, it felt like he did have a lot of repressed anger. And like you could see from the fact that in the ballroom scene from the beginning of the film, he was clearly trying to find someone. And the fact that he was turned into a beast, he's got a lot of repressed anger. He wants to find someone. And this girl showed up. She wants to date. He wants to try and give it a go, but he knows that as he is the beast, he's ugly to her. And he's very sinister and relatable. Because he knows how weird he looks. So he knows like it would take a lot to get past that. Whereas the classic, he's like blah blah blah. And even when he was actually being nice to Belle, the classic still felt like he was still being really aggressive. So this round goes to the remakes again. Next up, we've got the Gastons. Okay. With these ones, we got a lot more insight. We got just as much insight into both of them as we did. The Gaston song, both still very good, but it's kind of because Gaston's meant to be your arsehole, and he's an arsehole in both movies. So both actors did very well. So the voice actor and the actual actor, that both of them did very well for their respective roles. But the remake Gaston, I didn't feel really satisfied when he died. I felt like he was very... It kind of felt like the whole movie... I mean, it might have been the fact that I watched the classic before I saw the remake, but it kind of felt like the movie was literally like saying throughout the whole movie, he's going to die. He's going to die. We're just going to foreshadow it throughout the entire movie. Whereas the original Gaston... And I have actually done... Because I know I might have a bias, but I have actually done it the other day. I did it so I watched the remake, then the original. And the classic Gaston does seem to give off the vibe that he actually wants Belle. Like, both of them do, but I feel the classic does better. So this round goes to classic Gaston. Next up, LeFou. A huge knock to the classic LeFou is the fact that no one really knows his name in the original. No one said it. I'm pretty sure you could go through the script and it was said once or twice. Whereas Gaston is said so many times, especially in the song Gaston, because they say it about a million times. I'm pretty sure they never said it. But in the remake, they did so much better on this. Like, you see him throughout the classic. I mean, he gives his loyalty to Gaston without question, which is good, but because he gives it to Gaston without question makes him very unloyal. It does make him very loyal, but it makes him unrealistic and unhuman, because nobody would be supportive of someone without question. Whereas we see LeFou's shift throughout the movie. Like, at first, like up until like Gaston, the song, LeFou is praising Gaston all the time. Whereas throughout the rest of the movie, you can see him kind of giving up in Gaston. Like, he doesn't always feel like Gaston's doing the right thing. And then at the end of the movie, he actually decides to swap sides. I think he has the chance to attack and kill Cogsworth, but he decides not to and swap sides. And it made him a very, very redeemable character. And because we can actually see that he didn't have unquestionable loyalty this time, it made him a lot more relatable, which is why I chose him over the classic. Maurice. Pretty much, Maurice was meant to be the quirky father. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Maurice because in both films you really don't get much screen time with either of them. Thank you, prick! I don't know if you heard that, there's some assholes, some really loud windows, and because it's fucking summer, which I hate, it's so hot, so I need to open my windows the whole time. My neighbour's giving me nasty looks, you probably heard me swear. Bitch! Anyway. So, we never get a lot of screen time with the two Maurices. However, Maurice was meant to be like an inventor. He was meant to be questionable for his in his insanity, which was very obvious in the classic, because in the classic, many people refer to him as crazy old Maurice, which gives Gaston the idea. Whereas in the remake, it's just the fact that the whole town turned against him. And it's not like he's done nothing wrong. Maurice is a very kind man. Everyone just thought he was weird because of how inventive he was. Which helps the story of Belle, like the fact that she thought everyone thought he was weird. Whereas the Maurice in the remake felt a lot more natural. It felt like he had a place in the town. Meaning Belle would have also had a place in the town. And that just felt wrong. So this round does go to the classic. Lumiere! Lumiere, Lumiere. Out of all the supporting roles, he was my second favourite. And any of my personal friends will know who my favourite is. This round's going to be quick because basically Lumiere was meant to be the show-offy kind. He was meant to do what he thought was best without question. And there's two words that I'm going to mention with this. Show-offy and showcasey. So the classic Lumiere was very show-offy. He wanted to prove what he could do and prove what he was doing was correct. And whenever he did it, he got very cocky and sometimes it would blow up in his face. However, the remake Lumiere is very showcasey. He, without question, wanted to show off what could be done, never what should be done. And also the fact that they're both meant to be candles, and the fact that Lumiere can literally at any point can twizzle into a candle and hold to like freeze at any second, whereas the remake has to spin round and then turn into it, and then proceedingly you have to spin round again to go back into a tiny man. And also the fact that in the whole remake he never uses a candlestick as hands, because in the classic you saw the fact that his candlesticks were his hands, so he could actually hold things, whereas in this one he couldn't, and he kind of felt a little bit useless. So this one goes to the classic. Cogsworth! Oh, Cogsworth. Such a dick in both. However, relatability was a big thing again with them. Cogsworth in the original felt very unrelatable, because yes, he did have his master's intentions at heart. He was very worried about everything, and sometimes, yes, it would affect his judgment, but he seemed very shy and nervous throughout the film. But when we reach the battle scene at the end of the film, he seems very outgoing very quickly. Whereas the remake Cogsworth, throughout the film, we see him very shy, and whenever he actually has the courage, as soon as he stood up to it again, he stops. He's done. He's not going to. Like, if someone stands up to him, he's like, never mind. Go away. Shh, 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 shh. And he just felt a lot more realistic, because some people are like that. Because Cogsworth seemingly just... It wasn't like a giant build-up throughout the film. He just felt very shy, and then in the battle scene, he was suddenly really courageous. Because he wanted to save the castle, I guess. I don't know. But the other Cogsworth actually felt very nice. And I think he's one of the major reasons why LeFou made his change over to the castle side, because Cogsworth kind of, I think, granted him pity or something. I can't remember. This was a few days ago I watched it, and he didn't like attack him like everyone else did, and like put him down when he was whenever he was trying to speak up. And I think that's why I found Cogsworth the remake much more relatable. So goes to the remake. Oh, here's my favourite character in the entire movie, Miss Potts. Now, anyone who knows me knows I absolutely hated the design of the remake. Emma Thompson's performance was very good as the remake Miss Potts, but everyone knows her nose is meant to be her spout, and they shoved it on the side of her face. And also the fact that throughout the entire movie, Emma Thompson's Miss Potts seemingly just went around on the tea trolley. Whereas in the original, she was quite clearly an abled woman. She was willing to do things by herself. And also the fact that I loved her performance. And they both were very relatable, and it was kind of hard to choose, but when you compare which actor I liked best, their performances, and all these other things, and also the characteristics, it goes to the classic. Chip. Oh, I hated him in both. That's not me being sarky. The classic Chip was very squeaky toned and very annoying, and whenever he was like, he kind of seemed almost sarcastic at certain scenes towards his mother. However, the remake Chip seemed a lot more childish. For example, like the scene when they're finishing off the song, There's Something There That Wasn't There Before. In the original, Chip's just like, oh, what's there, mama? And he keeps saying that to her because he wants to know. Whereas the remake Chip, he says, what's there, mama? She says, I'll tell you when you're older. He waits a couple of seconds and says, I'm older now. And he just felt a lot more realistic as a childish character. So I gave it to him. Babette, again, another character whose name wasn't really said. I can't remember, wait, let me just, okay, I kind of felt like Babette, this is going to be very quick because we don't get a lot of screen time with Babette again. Babette was, in the remake, there were loads of Babettes, none of them looked different. And yes, Babette, there were loads of Babettes in the original, but Babette clearly showed a lot of emotions and characteristics. She was very outgoing, and she was very seductive. Whereas the remake Babette, she doesn't really flourish as a character. She just seems to be the character that can open things that the rest of the characters can't, which kind of let me down. And the fact that her like main purpose of being a dove, I think, was to seem more heavenly to Lumiere, and also the fact that they could use flying characters in Be Our Guest. So it goes to the classic. Madame Armoire. Can I just say I love the name because the whole film is set in France. But and the whole film was set in France, and I take French, and armoire actually means wardrobe. So her name in English would be Madame Wardrobe, which is very ironic. I'm going to be very quick about this again because we don't get a lot of time with her again. The classic didn't really feel like she had a place. Like, what would she really be used for? It's not like she was going to have a lot of time with the prince because he wouldn't really be interested in girls' fashion. Because she says, let's see what I got in my drawers in both films, to which fly out, and she's like, oh, how embarrassing. But it seems like in the original, all she had was dresses, which the prince wouldn't take much affection to. However, the remake, they actually build in a character. I mean, besides the fact that Madame Armoire as the wardrobe actually made dresses on the spot, and so she could make clothes for the prince being useful to him. She also sung a lot, and they built in a little bit more of a character for her. So it goes to the remake. finally, Fort. I know he didn't have a classic counterpart, but I really liked him. He was quite a funny character, so it goes to Fort. Music. We're going to look at one of the songs. Can I just say, Disney, I'm kind of cross. You didn't do Human Again in the film. Human Again was one of the songs that I liked. And the fact that they were discussing the whole time about being human again in that scene. It's like they kind of just cut the scene so they could cut the song. And that's kind of like the whole build-up of there was something there that wasn't there before. Like, they're actually getting hopeful. And they sung it in both movies. But in the remake, they cut Human Again. Which I don't get. Because they're now actually thinking they might have a chance. But anyway, let's look at Be Our Guest, which really showed off Lumiere as a character. In the original, Lumiere wanted to show off what they could do as chefs. They could cook professional meals. They were willing to go against the Beast and the Beast's instructions, and he was very cheeky towards Cogsworth. And the famous duality line between them, what was the line? Just be quiet, and to which Lumiere responds, of course, but what is dinner without a little music? To which Cogworth screams music and gets smacked into one of the foods, so that's why he appears in the song. Whereas in this one, whereas in the remake, the line's kind of glossed over. It's like they just say it for the point of saying it. They never really put much expression to it. And then in this one, the characters just seem like they're just trying to show off. They didn't even feed her. The only thing she got out of it was a tiny little cake. And yes, they didn't feed her much in the original, but she still got to eat a lot. All they left her with at the end was just a little cake. That was it. Whereas the classic Belle actually got to eat something. Like, she was told to try things, was taking handfuls of food out, enjoying herself, and it was a lot better. So I feel the remake was better. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Purple Heart, and why don't you guys show me your hearts by leaving a like, comment, or even a subscription. Bye bye.